To Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. 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 Join Dave Sirus and Maryssa Smith as they blamestorm as they blamestorm about today's hot topics.
Hey guys, welcome back to Blamestorming. I'm Maryssa Smith. I've got Dave Sirus with me.
Hi.
I've got Crespo with me.
Crespo.
It's okay. I'm
Sorry,
here. Hey,
Crespo. And I've got Maddy Smith with me.
What up?
All my friends, all roast battle friends of mine, you can see all of us on the Stand YouTube.
Yeah.
Roast battling.
Killing it.
Yes, we are what they consider the elites
We
of
are.
the New York roast battle scene.
I'm okay.
And wife material.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Can we talk about that for a second? So if you go to these roast battle videos, there's a lot of comments from people
Big following.
that are all it's like a weird kind of subculture of people who don't quite understand roast battle. Like they think that we care what people say about us.
They're like Legion of Skanks fans.
All
They'll
right.
follow me on Instagram, and their profile picture is a motorcycle.
Yes,
You know?
exactly. And
I care.
there are great comments about it where they try to like break down battles, but nothing was better than when one guy someone made a joke about no one want. Oh yeah, Chris did a joke about how no one would want to marry Maddy. It was a joke about having a ring
We
because you don't
could have rings on our
because you
fingers.
can't because you couldn't put a ring on your let's call them fingers.
Yeah.
And so
They're not fingers.
they get they can pull a trigger though.
They tried.
Get the job done. But yeah, and the guy said, it's funny that he made that joke about Maddy not being marriage material because actually she's really wifeable. She's both funny and cute, and you can just really see her being down to earth. And then like some other guy starts being like,
For sure.
yeah, man, I know what you're talking about. If I was going to marry someone, it's like, wow, this is
There was like definitely there was like thumbs up on like the back and forth.
They were going back and forth.
Yeah, usually
about...
YouTube, they're like, "You're a cunt. Stop laughing at your jokes, you fucking whore. You're fat." And this was like, "Yeah, I could see myself settling down with her."
And like, isn't it weird that is by far the creepiest comment you've ever gotten?
Yeah,
the one
I would
the
much
nicest?
rather someone just be mean to me.
Yeah, no, it was amazing because like you really get this impression that people are watching these like a lot and really starting to build up a backstory about these people because you would make a terrible wife.
Oh, awful.
Yeah.
But they see this one roast battle where I laugh and I'm like goofy and they're like, "Whoa, yeah, I'm gonna."
Well, it's also because
yeah.
they also think that because you do roast battle that you're the kind of you'd be like, I bet she wouldn't leave me for saying the N-word in traffic.
Like, she would go to the football games and play along and
Well, you are a Bills fan.
Yeah.
I bet she wouldn't need to ask why I'm packing a bunch of bananas to go to that soccer game against an African country.
She wouldn't tell on me for the child porn.
He
She'd
is
be cool
hungry,
about
Dave.
It. Yeah.
He is hungry.
She doesn't get jealous of that anime body pillow I have.
Right? She would ask it to join.
She's a cool chick.
It's crazy. That's what they think they know my personality. Well,
They
you
really
guess,
do.
But, yeah.
Well, the
So
funny
weird.
thing about it also, I think you mentioned, was like how there'll be a joke and they'll be like, oh, you can really tell that joke got to her.
I
And
know.
It's like, no.
No, he's saying the joke and I'm thinking of what I'm supposed to do next. There's no... When you do enough, the words go through you.
Yeah.
Have you literally ever had a roast joke that honestly offended you or hurt your feelings?
No, not from me. I mean, I every time I go on a roast, it doesn't matter who I'm fighting. It's like I know it's a roast, and it's just fun. I will take notice if I feel like the joke is really good. I'm like, ooh, that was really well written.
Yeah. You're
But-
like, it's less personal and more like, fuck, that was good. He might pass me for that. Less personal and more like fight based.
Yeah, because
strategic based. Like, oh fuck, that hurts my momentum.
Yeah.
And there are
Not
things.
about what he's saying.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. I know there are things you could say about me that would hurt my feelings, but no one's ever come close to it when trying to hurt my feelings.
Right.
That's actually the kind of the sad thing. I'm like, oh, no one can tell. No one ever notices what actually hurts me.
It feels like he's testing us. Like, find what hurts me.
Yeah.
Hey, if you
Find
can't-
my weak underbelly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be
Stab
my
it.
guest.
Right.
If you can get it, you'll get it. I still won't let you know then.
Right.
So, Maddy, what's going on in Nickelodeon?
Dan Schneider, big producer there, was let go. He was the one who started up all that. The
Okay.
Amanda Show, Zoe
Right.
101.
Wait a second. Is that the voice of Master Shake?
No.
No.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I thought.
I
No.
thought that was
Google
his
it
name.
at your
No,
own
Dave.
peril, Dave.
No, Dave,
No,
we would have a different conversation.
No,
Because
I
I do watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and
Damn.
He's a fat dude who is rumored to have abused many teens and young children on the show.
Just so you know, there are several quotes right now. People saying Dan Schneider and Dan Schneider are not the same
cool.
person. So that's who I was thinking of.
Good to know.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh,
There you
yeah.
go.
I was close.
Yeah.
I was
totally. You weren't the only one.
Yeah. So what is
So-
happening with this guy?
Yeah, so now they're saying that he abused children. Is this
There's rumors,
Okay.
and well, the rumors. I'm on deep gossip web for celebrity gossip. That's all I
Okay.
do all day. But it's like years back. He's the reason I like Amanda Bynes eventually went crazy.
Oh my
Really?
The
god.
timeline of her going crazy is like that of like someone who was abused as a child, whether like sexually or like whatever sexually. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
When it started
Allegedly,
coming
yeah.
out, like the timeline of Amanda Bynes and then Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears all have the pattern of someone who was abused as a
Oh
child,
my-
and it
wait,
came
wait.
out at age like
All three of those women were made crazy by the same guy?
not the same guy.
Oh,
but
okay.
the
Jesus.
patterns indicate that these child stars, young women, were abused.
So now, like, I
Holy
read like
shit.
a couple of articles about it, just kind of like when you threw it down, I'm like,
Mhm.
who is this fella?
He's fat.
And yeah, he is quite rotund.
Yes.
That's it. Take him down a peg.
Yeah.
You know,
vocabulary words.
there you go. He looks like a rococo. But they were saying that he made teen stars like take photos of their feet.
Yes.
Like
It's rumored. Allegedly, he has a
and then
he
like
has
his
had a foot
Instagram were
fetish.
all these like teen stars and their tussies.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I mean, no
Ugh.
wonder Amanda Bynes is insane. Like she
Yeah,
had
right?
like a bad petty one day,
Right.
and then he just like reamed into
Right. Oh.
her. It's just like you're French on your toes.
I would have given
Right.
anything to hear the exact made up on the spot explanation for why he needs the toe pictures.
Right.
like-
Because he had a reason. He was like,
it's for a new TV
hey,
show. about toes.
Reebok wants to advertise with
Yeah.
us, but they're going to need pictures of your feet.
Right.
Okay, now they need to be sweatier.
Right.
No
It's
one's
like,
ever
Now
well-
they need to be stepping on snails.
No one's
It's
ever
like
asked me
now
for
you
my
need to
feet.
step on my dick.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's also rumored that he is the father of Jamie Lynn Spears' child.
Oh my
Which-
god!
when
No.
Zoe
Oh.
And if
No,
you
Maddy.
look up her child, she looks like him.
Well, that's only
She-
because
Maddy,
he looks like a newborn
no.
baby.
I know that's true.
Dana Schneider,
But she's,
looks
like,
exactly
older now.
like
Not
Oh
Dana,
my
Dan.
God.
Dan,
Dan Schneider.
Dan Schneider does look like a newborn baby.
But are you guys surprised? I mean, there's pedophilia throughout Hollywood.
Yeah.
why
There's
else would
no
you work in this
surprise that
industry?
Nickelodeon is a
Nice,
feeding
Dave.
ground for it. But
Oh Jesus! I just realized who he is.
yes,
He's the guy from he's the guy from that '80s sitcom.
Oh yeah,
He's
he was
the
in
fat
TV
guy
Show. Yeah.
From
And he
the
looks exactly the same.
what was the head of the class?
Yeah.
He was the
He was
fat
in
guy
that.
from that show, Head of the
No.
Class. Yes, he
Yeah.
is. No,
Yeah.
he
Is
is.
he?
Yeah, yeah.
Google.
And then he
Remember?
went on to produce
Him,
after that.
he was the best friend of that kid Arvid. They were like the nerds in the class, and it was that show with
Rain.
yes, with Rain Pryor. Yes, that's who Dan
him.
Schneider
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Oh,
So he
my
went on to produce after that
God.
show.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So he was a child star himself.
Yeah.
So it's not his fault.
No.
No,
Yeah,
well-
well,
So everything.
it's a cycle. Yeah.
Oh
It's a
my
cycle.
God.
Yeah.
He's the victim
Actually,
here.
yeah. Whoa. Oh
No.
my God. Such a good point.
Whoa,
Yo.
whoa, whoa. Wait a
Okay.
minute.
Yeah, you were
man's
just talking
rights
about mental
activist.
health, dude.
Yeah. But this is like
He should
crazy.
he should be allowed to molest as many kids as he wants.
Ugh. Apparently, a lot of people, or everyone at Nickelodeon knew. I mean, makes sense,
Oh,
right?
Jesus Christ. That's what I don't get is this whole thing of like, because everyone does it. Everyone keeps these secrets
Mhm.
Jesus Christ.
as if they don't like. What are they so? If you know someone's touching kids, what are you really afraid of is going to happen to you if you come out with it?
I don't know. He seemed very powerful. It's the same thing with like Sandusky.
Well, yeah.
Penn State.
Well,
You're
he
just
was
like,
the defensive coordinator,
Right.
and he was helping. And Paterno was like the most winning coach on that.
Right.
So they were probably thinking like, "Oh, if we get this guy out, our defense is terrible."
Yeah,
but that's not the point. The point is that children are being harmed.
I know, but that's how dedicated people can be to their.
No, it just proves that Pennsylvanians are retarded.
Yo,
They're fucking retarded.
very retarded.
You say that word with only with the confidence only a man with no arms
Right.
or legs
He's
I-
allowed
can
to
get
say
away
it
with.
because
Fucking hate Pennsylvanian
Yeah.
sports.
Yeah, I mean, well, the Sandusky thing, I remember the excuses people made for Paterno were, well, he's such an old school guy, he probably doesn't know that child molestation exists.
It is
Shut
facility.
Yeah.
Shut up.
It is
Right.
facility. It was
Right.
in the fucking football facility. He brought kids there.
I mean,
Yeah.
wasn't it like in the depositions that they heard the thumpings and screamings in the
yeah.
showers?
Someone said
No,
Jesus.
they heard horseplay.
Oh, yeah. They saw an
Rhythmic
arm come out of a
horseplay.
shower.
Horseplay can be very rhythmic.
Yeah,
It can be
okay.
it can have a very
Yeah.
steady beat to it.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
And they're sobbing.
Hope we're proud of ourselves right now.
It's like,
Well,
where's
yeah,
my mom?
but yeah, this thing with,
God
with the
damn
which
it.
it just came out. I mean, it's unfortunately not surprising because it's just like anytime you hear kids getting taken advantage of, it's who do you think tries to get these jobs?
the priest.
Not only bad people, but if you're if you're a sick person who wants access to kids, you'd probably start working with kids.
And yeah, totally. Or in Hollywood in general.
That's
There's kids abound.
that's a
that's
problem.
true. That is
I've
that is
definitely
bad.
stopped dating guys because I thought that it was kind of. Oh, sorry, I got all the cords wrapped around my feet.
Oh.
So
That's okay.
okay, you got it.
Yeah.
So like I was dating this one guy that was a teacher, and we're probably on our third date, and I was like handing him something, and then he was just like, "Oh, your hands are so small; they're almost childlike," and I'm like, "Oh,
Oh, boy.
yeah."
Well,
Yeah.
women like to hear that they have incredibly small hands and feet for some reason.
Well,
I'm
no,
a woman
Dave.
and I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Like I know I have small hands. Like don't bring it to my attention. I don't like being a failure.
All right, let's test it out.
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
Your hands are big. Your hands
I
are
have
bigger
big
than
hands.
Chris's.
That's why dudes
That's
don't
it.
like me.
You do have very long. You have very long hands.
I know.
Yes. You
Women
don't
don't like
you don't
me
have
for
big
my
hands.
Dudes
You
don't
have long
stick around.
fingers. So
Yeah.
they're at least they're elegant.
Let me see.
Yeah. So
Ew,
yeah.
I'm creepy. Yeah, basically like a dude.
So our hands are
right.
basically the same. Mine are
Yeah,
thicker.
but
At
my
least.
fingers are like elongated.
Your fingers are slightly longer than mine.
All right,
Well,
I'm going in. Okay.
Oh jeez. Sorry.
We're touching.
Okay. Yeah.
This is oddly
Oh,
arousing
yeah.
me.
So yeah, Maddie's hands
Ew,
are.
I'm so gross.
Okay, Maddie and
She has the
Marissa.
biggest hands.
Ew.
Maddie-
and the biggest dick.
Oh, that's probably true.
Maddie
That's
and
true.
Marissa
That
touching
is true.
hands looks like it looks like an advertisement for not being racist of like a giant white hand encasing a black child.
Yes, yes.
Wait, Dave, we can
Brotherhood.
make this creepier.
Yes, there you
Let's
go.
make this
Okay.
creepier.
Chris
Oh.
has huge
All right,
hands.
well, my
Not
thumb,
no.
my thumb is still.
Well, my hand is.
Well,
side-
you're counting your
we
elbow.
don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Well,
This-
you're
All
counting.
right, this is weird. All right, but we're trying
That doesn't count as part of your hand.
This
Only-
is part of my hand. Then
Oh,
this
well-
would be my elbow.
okay.
This
well,
is like trying to figure out a hoof is like where
Yeah,
the
right?
palm of a
Yeah.
hoof is. It's
Yeah,
weird.
that's his
either
hands.
way, mine is bigger.
Yes. Women have never been excited about small hands ever.
Right. Well, at least with
Yeah,
your. You
I
have an
agree,
excuse.
Chris.
They're
I
not-
agree.
Thank you
I'll
they're-
take large hands, please.
Yeah.
For 400.
You know when it's funny when I met Trump, it was before the whole argument, before we started finding out he's really sensitive about his hand size, and I literally just one-on-one when I was looking at him, and I was just looking at his hands, being like, wow, he has really really short
shit.
fingers.
Whoa,
Like his hands are fat,
creepy.
but they're short.
Ew.
Like he has like these like nubby fingers,
Well,
and I
he's
know
a
everyone talks
beast.
about
Hate
that.
it.
But I remember he had a big bruise on his nail one time, and I remember just being like,
From a
those are-
hooker?
Those are gross.
I hate those. Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah,
gross? You have a big
gross.
bruise in your
Ew,
fingernail.
ew.
I know,
So
right?
And
now-
then the
now do you
nail's
hate
gonna
him?
fall
Yeah,
off
yeah.
eventually. I mean, I didn't need that. I would have hated him anyway.
Also, his hair is ridiculous.
Oh, it's so
So
fake.
now, did you see the whole
When his hair
like
came off?
like Darth Vader
Yeah.
comb over up
Sure.
close, like just like the wraparound?
Well, you know what that
like-
is, I think. I think it's because he had the hair removed from the back of his head and implanted on the top of his head.
Gross.
And the idea there being no one cares about the back of your head. So he covers that. I mean, there is a
And then
chart.
does like a duck's ass in the
Yeah.
back.
Well, there's a chart
Yes.
that explains it. What he does is he grows the hair on the side of his head incredibly long to wrap around the head.
Ugh.
Because like when you go bald, there's always like usually the back of the head and the side. It's always and that you can wrap around.
Right.
And he does that double blowout thing, where he
Okay.
blow dries it both
I would
directions.
be terrified to see.
Which, by the way, he said once he was president, he would no longer have that hair because it takes him too long to do every morning.
Ugh.
But as we know, he
He
has
does
a lot
it
of
every
time.
morning.
Well, he also spends 5 hours watching
Fox and
News every
Friends?
morning before he starts his day. So he obviously has
Gross.
plenty of free time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He tweets at like 3 a.m.
Yeah,
sometimes.
it's so fucking weird.
and
While he's eating chicken, most likely.
No, he's eating a burger.
Yeah, well,
man.
I thought he
but-
ate chips, potato chips.
He does,
He
yeah.
does,
Yeah.
but
Well,
he also eats burgers.
He eats
at
Big
night.
Macs because he's afraid of being poisoned. And Corey Lewandowski said, well, it's okay that he eats all these Big Macs because he usually throws out the bread, and that's the bad part. No.
Really?
The bread is the bad part when you're talking about anything other than McDonald's
Yeah.
hamburgers.
That beef
Yeah.
is like, yo.
You wife-beating lunatic, Corey.
He also has
Yeah,
Diet Cokes.
right? Yeah.
He drinks a shit ton of Diet
Like a
Coke.
12-pack of Diet
Yeah.
Cokes a day.
That's insane. I don't like Diet Cokes. And
I drink a
drinking...
lot, so
Yeah,
you better watch
I-
it.
I actually hate Diet
damn.
Coke, but I'll
I
drink
don't-
it for the caffeine.
Maddy got
I don't
serious.
Yeah.
drink any diet anything.
You know what was great, by the way? Speaking of diet soda, I'm going to get a little controversial here for a second. RC10 came out a few years ago, and it was the best diet soda I've ever had, and I've had it all over the world.
Maddie's like prepping her gun right now.
Yeah, I'm
RC10, but
Cocking the
RC10,
gun.
it was it tasted exactly like real Coke. The problem was the campaign for RC10 was
Bye,
the single worst commercial campaign I ever saw, because it was a guy in like a Jeep going, RC10, it's not for women. Yeah, yeah, great.
Oh,
I'm
shit.
in.
So, like, Will and Grace isn't
Yes.
willing to throw away the 5 gay Trump supporters they might have, but RC10 is like, you know who we don't need buying our
Half the
diet
population.
Yeah.
90% of the people
yeah.
who buy diet
Right.
soda. Let's
Right.
piss all them
Yeah.
off. And it's sad because I'm telling you, it was fucking
Damn. Sad I
amazing.
missed it.
It was so good. Had 10 calories.
Mm.
But
So that's why it's
That's
10
too many for
and
me.
not-
Yeah.
I'm not even, I can't even, and it happened right when I was quitting diet soda, and it dragged me back in
Don't
because
do
just for like
it.
a year you could
Tastes
get
so good. Mm.
No.
It makes Coke
I
Zero
can't.
look like a pile of
Coke
dead
Zero
babies.
sucks.
No, Coke Zero is better than Diet Coke.
Ugh, I disagree.
Oh my god.
You're
Highly disagree.
You
I'm
are
walking away.
So now,
It's
while we
gonna
were
get
on
violent
the topic,
really fast.
Oh.
while we were on the topic of Trump, did you guys hear that Trump's lawyer or ex-lawyer, because he
John
left
Dowd.
Oh, he
her,
quit.
John Dowd.
Yeah,
Well, he did leave, but now they're saying that John Dowd had made some sort of
He suggested some pardons.
Yeah, so like he suggested that he would pardon Manafort and Flynn if they would not testify against Trump.
Yeah, I mean that's reported like it's a surprise, like
Isn't
any of us
that-
don't know that's what they're planning to do.
What's that called? What's
Obstruction?
Obstruction.
That? Besides obstruction of
It's
justice,
not
it's
collusion.
something-
It
no,
wouldn't-
no, it's not collusion. I know that. It's not obstruction of justice. It's something else. It's when you're
Fucking stupid.
It's called
No, I
being
know it's fucking stupid, but there's another word for it.
dictatorship,
No,
mafia.
no. It's like when
Sounds like
when you force someone to do something to get out of a jam. Entrapment. There it is.
I don't know if it's entrapment.
Would that be it?
Entrapment is when you suggest a crime to someone to get them to go along with
God
it.
damn it! I did it wrong.
So in this case, I mean, we all know he's thinking about it. And John Dowd, of course, he was the lawyer who quit Trump's legal team and did something very odd. He publicly said, "I'm quitting because he's not listening to me," which is a very odd thing for any lawyer to
Gee,
do.
Trump not listening? What a surprise!
But yeah, I don't think there's obviously nothing surprising about this. I'm sure every lawyer has discussed. Some are probably begging him not to, but Trump is not really thinking any of this through. I'm sure he's already been talked out of preemptively pardoning all these people, because at some level he must have thought, why can't I just pardon everyone preemptively?
Do you know how frightening it is to be in that White House and hear Trump say that he's going to do that, and it's your job on the line, and you have to be like, Trump, please don't do this, because you'll bring us all down.
Well,
We're all going to federal prison if you do this.
I think a
well,
lot
if
of
you're
people,
in that office, you deserve to be there.
I
think
know, but I mean, like, imagine being the person being like, you know what? Fuck it.
They should all be afraid.
At this point, I don't care if the fucking housekeeper goes to jail. Like, get them all the fuck out.
No, the
Well,
housekeeper never leaves. No, the
I'll tell you
people
what's
that work
happening.
in the White House, like the cooks and the cleaners and stuff,
They stay.
they stay there. That's their job
The
forever.
cooks,
But they
by the way,
hear
aren't working.
everything.
The
They
coo-
literally hear everything.
You know, he
Yeah.
doesn't use the cook.
because
No.
he goes to McDonald's.
That's actually a
But
thing
does
that
the
like
I
cook
wrote a
still
bit
go to
about
work?
it.
he's been using the cook less than like
I
any
wrote a bit
president.
about
But does
the
he
cook.
still go to work every day?
Oh, the cook. Oh yeah, he still has to, like,
he
be
still
there.
gets paid.
Yeah,
That's true.
He still gets paid. He gets paid, but the thing is that
he thinks
Trump's
the
just
deep
eating-
state is going to poison him, like it's Rome, because
Crazy.
well,
he's
because
retarded.
he's paranoid and he's not He's obviously.
But like, why
he's
does the
unwell.
deep state need to poison him when he's obviously going to have some sort of stroke on his own volition?
Well, what does the
'cause
deep
he's
state need to poison their own puppet? It doesn't make sense.
Well, because he thinks the deep state is that Barack Obama is still secretly president, which is a belief out of desperation because you need someone to blame for things and he's in charge. So they need people to. So when bad things happen, they need to be able to say, "Oh, well, Trump couldn't be the cause of this. It must be that there's a secret other government I can blame." It's kind of like how
The
in Nazi
Illuminati.
It's fan fiction.
in Nazi Germany,
Yeah.
in Nazi Germany, there was a phrase that people would say whenever bad things happened in Nazi Germany. The phrase was, "If only Hitler knew." It was this thing they put out where they would basically, as a way of people not blaming him for how horrible things were going, they would all say, "Oh, if only Hitler knew." And that's the sort of what Trump wants. He wants this kind of blame. I mean, he wants to be treated like a god who doesn't have the rules apply to him.
He doesn't
And
have
speaking of
shit.
going to jail, right now, the person who looks most likely to go to jail is Jared.
Jared, yeah.
That is amazing. He put his daughter's husband in the most dangerous position because of the loyalty thing, because he wanted someone he didn't think would turn on him. And now we're finding out that Jared has just been using his position to just make money because Jared is begging for money like a crackhead. I don't know if you know this. Jared, you know how like when we put Qatar on
Right, that's because they wouldn't give him money.
we sanctioned them because they wouldn't give him a loan, and then suddenly we're getting ethics violations because people are going to meetings in the White House, Jared Kushner, and suddenly giving him $100 million. But here's something else I learned from our friend David Feldman. He's not just asking for $100 million from Qatar; he's borrowing like $50,000 from this guy and $10,000 from this guy, like someone who there's something we don't know
Sucking
about
dick.
going
Yeah,
on,
right,
like
yeah.
someone who's desperate
Right.
to stay out of debt.
Right.
And
Oh my!
and I think Trump may have very well have just told him, "Listen, do it all. Just use the office to make as much money as we can because I can just pardon you." Because that's what a mob president would act like, and he is acting like that.
If he would have,
But I feel like he's just taking out his like biggest competition because if Jared's in jail, then he has way bigger chance to bang Ivanka.
well, also it would throw the press, especially Fox News, into how Jared was evil, and it would put a whole spin on the whole thing. Plus, it gives him a scapegoat. To be very, very honest with you, if he is using Jared as a scapegoat, that's a brilliant tactic. Because then what ends up happening is the press goes after Jared, and he gets all that. It will go away
Well, the thing is,
shortly.
If Jared goes down, it's very hard for Trump to act blameless. Because if it was someone like
But
Flynn,
here's the thing.
or someone is a government, if a government worker goes down for this, he can say, "Oh, this is who this person was."
Yes.
Jared is an extension of him.
Yeah,
Jared doesn't
totally.
belong there. He has no experience
Whoa.
there.
And he put
no one's
them there.
believing that Jared's doing anything without Trump's approval.
Here's the thing, though. If Jared goes down, Jared's expendable. To be very honest with you, Jared's expendable.
You think he's going to kill him?
Trump,
No,
but
he's
not to
gonna throw him.
Ivanka.
No, but he's gonna exactly. But he has Ivanka.
And
has
what if
him.
Jared doesn't want to go down?
That's
What
the-
if Jared's father says,
Oh,
"Don't. This is not going to prison.
Here's-
Isn't worth it."
Yeah, but here's the thing. That's we want this to be true. We want Jared to be the scapegoat. Because if Jared's the scapegoat and he doesn't realize it until the very end when he gets put in jail, he'll sing.
Exactly.
He'll sing
Yeah.
because he'll realize that Trump isn't loyal to him.
I do think Jared's going to
He's going to
sing.
sing anyway, but
no,
I
he's
feel
not.
like
He's not going to sing now because he believes Trump would be feeding him bullshit that he's on his side, that he's going to protect him.
And no matter
But
what
what
happens,
I-
I'll pardon
what I
you.
Yeah, and that
disagree with
that
is
Ivanka
that-
loves you.
is that Jared's father hates Trump.
Yeah.
And so he's more loyal to his own father than he's going to be to his wife's father.
I think he's going to be
And-
more loyal to his family and not wanting to
Oh.
leave his young child and go to prison.
Well,
And-
federal prison.
Well, because
which is
he
worse.
experienced that
That's
because
federal's
his
better.
dad,
Well,
he doesn't
federal's
want to
better,
share his
but you're-
dad's cell.
But you're more in isolation.
But I kind of feel like this is the long game for Jared. Was that like his dad kind of always was just like, all right, like you do what you need to do, and you're welcome, and you do what you need to do for your family, but never trust this fucker. And I feel like this is like Jared's dad's long game to make Trump feel like he's completely castrated and that he's just following everything that Trump wants him to do when he's just laying traps. And I feel like Jared has been laying traps.
I have a
this whole
different
time.
theory. I think that Jared and Donald are two of the stupidest people that have ever been anywhere close to this situation, and they are not thinking 1.5 steps ahead. I think Jared got into this office and said, "Oh, I bet I could get money from these people." I don't think they thought, because don't forget, Jared is the one who told him to fire Comey. And firing Comey is what created this whole problem for Trump in the first place of the obstruction.
Right,
When
but
Jared
if you
told him to
hated
fire
Trump,
Comey-
that's what you would tell him to do, though.
But Jared's not that smart,
I
and
don't
Jared
think he's
wanted
that
Trump to
smart,
make it.
Jared's
I think they're both
retarded.
Jared
yeah.
told him to fire Comey for one reason and one reason only, because Jared Kushner was the first person in 40 years to set foot into the White House without actually knowing what Richard Nixon was impeached for, which was firing the people who were investigating his own crimes. So I think Jared literally did not know that was a problem. I think he thought, hey, if you fire Comey, he's gone, and then we can get rid of this. I think that's how simple these people think.
I think so,
I think
too.
that's why Ivanka married him in the first place, because he's just like her daddy. And I think
Who's retarded.
And if you listen to Jared speak, if you listen to him try to defend himself, he actually does come off like a guy in his late 30s who never had a real job that his parents didn't give him. I think Jared just took this opportunity to do a big cash grab and is going...
What?
No, I was like, hey.
What'd I do?
Give him a
He's
break.
in his 30s and
Yeah.
never had a real job.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sorry. You're a
You should be a
teacher. You have a
substitute
real
teacher.
job.
Kind of.
You have a job that you weren't given by your dad. No, I'm
No.
saying I think that Jared is the only person in that building dumber than his father-in-law, and I think that they never thought they were going to win this election, so they left so many breadcrumbs.
Totally.
And
Jared-
I believe that Jared and Trump are both. I know it's people think I'm being crazy when I say that this is going to end with Trump in prison, but I don't know. I don't think he's smart enough to not put himself there. So
I think he'll try to distance himself from Jared. I don't think he'll. It's very, very, very fucking hard to imagine Trump in prison, because that's a president. That is.
If this were a
that is
movie-
insane. And let me tell you, they thought about putting Nixon in prison, and Gerald Ford was like, "We're not having that."
Well, that cost Gerald Ford re-election.
Exactly,
Gerald Ford was
but
not
Gerald Ford-
it's not a popular decision he made.
No, no, I understand that. But Gerald Ford understood that if you put a president in a federal prison, that is going to send shockwaves
See, I think that
around the world.
I agree with you that that's why he did that. But I think it's different with Trump, because I think that when this is all over, when Mueller's investigation shows everything they have, and we start really seeing, when we really get the sunlight on this whole situation, people are going to want to undo Trump's presidency, the same way that the racists of this country tried to use birtherism to undo Obama's presidency. We're going to have a situation where I think Congress is going to do anything they can to erase him, and part of that is putting him in jail and punishing him. They do not want Donald Trump even to be remembered as a former U.S. president. That's how bad this is going to be. And by the way, if we find out that the election really was changed by the foreign government working with him, I don't know for sure that they wouldn't do that.
That's treason.
It is treason.
That is treason.
I don't feel like they are going to go through that level just for the mere fact that they don't want to admit that it happened. And if they say that Russia affected our election and that Trump was just a puppet for Putin, that they have to admit that they were susceptible of this the entire time. And I don't think that they want to. I think that they would rather say Manafort was a bad egg, Flynn was a bad egg, Jared was a bad egg, but Trump had nothing to do with it. Kind of the same way
Fox
that
News
Trump
will take that road.
that Trump is like, Trump's lawyers now saying that he had nothing to do with paying off Stormy Daniels.
Yeah, he had nothing. He had nothing to
that
do with
was-
sending
That's how you beat. That's how you beat him. That's how you beat a bully. I've dealt with bullies. In order to beat them, you have to find their weakness and exploit it. and push them to the edge.
By the way, speaking
Literally to the edge of like pushing them to outside, like literally driving them to kill themselves. You have to do that with a bully.
Let's all get together and make bullying kill itself.
Yeah, but like that's the way to beat a bully.
Yeah.
You don't talk to them, you don't reason with them. You call them a fucking loser and you tell them to go kill themselves.
Well,
and then you beat the
we've
shit
been
out of them.
trying to do that with
Wow.
Trump, and he hasn't done it yet. Now, let's talk about the Stormy thing.
sorry.
You know how Stormy was threatened.
Mm-hmm.
Stormy
Right.
said a man came up to her and gave a sort of very
Creepy.
a really hacky
It's
mob.
like,
Ew,
oh,
threats.
I wouldn't want anything to happen to her mommy.
It's like, oh, it's a beautiful kid you got there.
Creepy.
And by the way, it sounds so
This
much
is
like
why
Michael.
women need guns, so that way they can just blow his fucking brains
It sounds
out
so much like
on the side of the fucking road.
Okay, stop drinking, Chris. You've had enough.
I'm not done drinking yet, Dave.
Blackout.
When this
There's
guy,
one more beer.
So yeah, well, the thing about Stormy Daniels being threatened, everyone said, there was a threat against her, and people heard it, and they thought whatever. But then we found out the threat was from 2011, and the threat was before she became public about it. So it's very hard to imagine that someone unaffiliated.
2011.
It was in 2011
Yeah, that's when it was.
when
yeah.
she
He
got
wasn't
this
even
threat.
running.
He wasn't running.
He's a big guy,
They
though.
were just threatening her to not go public with the fact that he cheated on his wife with
Yeah.
her because she was going to sell the story to In Touch magazine for $15,000, which means there's really no one outside of Trump's orbit.
$15,000?
Yeah, well, she's a porn
That
star.
low?
They get paid nothing.
They get paid.
No, porn stars get paid like shit these days. It's terrible.
Oh my god.
It's honest.
Yeah.
It's
They
honestly
get
a
paid
travesty.
in tits.
It's a
get
travesty.
my fucking paycheck and I give it to a porn star, and I'll trade that. I will get their
Hey,
paycheck.
if you wanted to do porn, you probably could.
Yeah,
Let's
totally.
not act like you're being
There
blacklisted
are
from
people
this
who would
industry.
pay for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a thing in this world called specialty porn, Chris, that you could be a big star of. Now, I don't know what your dick looks like.
It looks like a mangled mess.
Ew. Mango Mess, that's your porn name.
Yeah, that means you could definitely be huge in
MM
porn.
in the house.
If
Yo,
your
yo,
dick,
yo.
trust me,
No,
Chris,
it can't be because my.
if your
it would
dick
be
has
the-
if your dick has like a toenail on it, you could be the most famous porn star in the
Totally.
world.
Wait a minute. But your porn name is supposed to be your first name and the street name that you lived
No,
on.
you
no,
can
no.
make it whatever you want.
It's your first pet's name and the street name you lived on.
So
That's
I would be
why
Coco Kennedy.
that
that's
works
a
too.
great
That's actually
porn name.
very political.
That's
as
why
well.
my name would be Taffy Nautilus, which is a pretty
Wow.
great porn name.
I'm
thought it was-
Tommy Yonkers.
But wait, wouldn't it be?
These are great names.
Tommy Yonkers.
Okay, wait, Maddie.
What's
Maddie.
the formula?
What's
again?
your porn name,
first,
Maddie?
Your first pet,
Okay.
and then the first street you lived on,
First street.
or your favorite street. you lived on.
Oh, it's boring. It's just suburban Belle Woodbury.
Your name is Belle
God
Woodbury.
damn
Yeah.
it, Maddie.
Yeah, that is a terrible porn name.
I know. That's
You-
why I was
Belle
not meant for
Woodbury.
porn.
Belle Woodbury definitely sounds like a girl who did one movie.
Yeah.
It sounds like a girl who's like, this
Yeah.
isn't for me.
Yeah.
This was just college.
Yeah,
I need to pay.
Belle Woodbury.
Yeah.
That's actually when we
I
had
thought it
Caitlin
was-
Bailey on. If she did porn, that sounds like the name she would use because she just acts like someone because she's like our friend who's
Yeah, I know.
she was
Yeah.
a prostitute even though she talks like she's running for Congress.
Yeah.
Huh? No, but I thought your porn name was your first name and the street that you lived on.
No, not your first name because then it's your first name. It's
Right.
But it's a first name. There's a ton of
Do you think
Daves.
Stormy was born Stormy?
No, I know that.
Right.
I know.
right. No, yeah,
She
no,
was born being a
it's
twinkle
usually-
in her father's eye.
It's
Ew.
usually your first
Oh,
pet's name.
nice.
Even though that not a lot of masculine porn names from that.
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
yours was Coco. I also had a Coco. My
Oh.
my mom named a
It was-
pet. My mom, when I was 6 years old, my mom bought a toy poodle, named it Coco, put a rhinestone collar on it, and said, "David, I bought you a dog."
Mm.
Oh,
And
I
I
had a German Shepherd
I was
Mm.
who
really
ripped people's throats that whenever you ran out of our property.
Mhm.
yeah. I also had a German Shepherd who did that and who killed, by the way, Coco, the poodle.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the
I
day.
was really rooting for Coco.
It was the day. Of my,
No.
So I got Coco when I was
German
6,
Shepherds are
Yeah.
crazy.
who I was tricked into loving because that's what you do when you get a dog. You love it,
Yeah.
even because I wasn't old enough to know that
but-
this toy poodle was not the appropriate. Coco is not an appropriate pet for a little boy.
Why is it not an appropriate pet for
because
a little boy? It's
it-
a poodle. It's a dog.
Because it was a toy poodle
It's
with a
man's
rhinestone
best
collar
friend.
named Coco.
But it wasn't a real
It
poodle?
just
Yes,
had
a toy poodle.
it had
It's
a
that's a
bad
kind of poodle.
costume.
A toy poodle is a
Oh.
very small poodle.
Oh, but that's a dog.
It's still a dog. It's man's
Yeah,
best
he
friend.
loves
Yes,
the
well,
dog.
they
They
shouldn't have
didn't
had.
want to be gay.
Well, it shouldn't
okay?
have had the name.
But
it
poodles
should-
are smart, Maddie.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have had a problem with the poodle, but if it's my dog, it shouldn't have a rhinestone collar and be named like Elizabeth Taylor. Just put it in her purse. The point is,
It wasn't Chanel.
so then we got a German Shepherd,
Well,
and
maybe
then
he's gay, Maddie.
and then-
I think so. I'm thinking.
and then on the day of my bar mitzvah,
We'll call him David from now on. Go on.
the German Shepherd decapitated the poodle.
Holy shit!
Jesus.
The morning of my bar
this was
mitzvah,
Woo.
and then my parents lied to me because I don't know if you know this. In Jewish families, they try to avoid all experiences of negative emotion altogether. It's just like
That sounds like a black family. I don't know what you're
Irish too. Irish as well.
because
so I'm not sure.
I just found out Gary Shanley.
well, they never ignored that with me.
Gary
They just
Shanley's
told me
brother
straight
died
up.
when he was
Hard.
like 10. So Gary Shanley's brother died when he was like 10, and then his parents didn't tell him. They just
Oh.
started.
Jesus Christ!
They wouldn't tell him.
What?
They were just they wouldn't like answer what was going on or where his brother was. They just
My
like they never
God.
gave him a chance. They didn't even tell him there was a funeral. They made him stay home because
Holy
they were like,
Whoa.
shit!
it's like how my mom didn't want me to see E.T. when I was a baby. It's like, well, you shouldn't experience things.
Yeah.
And so they didn't
Wait,
tell
but-
me for years until they just
Jesus.
then my parents forgot that they lied to me about how the dogs died,
Oh,
and then they would just
God.
mention it in front of me, and I'd be like,
Right.
What happened to that dog?
Totally.
oh, so they didn't run away from the kennel, and it
This
was
is a
That's
problem.
all families.
Yeah.
But no,
My
this
grandpa
is
killed himself, and I didn't find out till like I was 17.
funny story about
I was
that.
like, oh, okay.
Oh, God.
Actually,
Good to know.
I have a very funny story that goes along with that too.
Mhm.
So my grandfather killed himself, which you guys
Hello?
know because
Yeah,
it's been
from the
mentioned in
rip.
multiple roast battles.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So my grandfather committed a murder suicide.
Whoa.
With his second wife, who looked just like my grandmother. He got a second wife, looked just like his first wife, and then he eventually killed her and himself because he was a gun nut. He had like 50 guns. Now I'm just kidding. I'm not saying that's why, but you know, doesn't look great when you're a crazy man with a bunch of guns who used to beat his wife. Which, by the way,
There it
now that
is.
we think
History
about
of
it,
violence.
we would have,
Yeah.
we would have been able to take
Yeah.
it away if it was the good old, if it was the better world.
Yeah,
here's-
but then back then it was like, well, of course he beats his wife.
but you said
Yeah.
no one knows your grandfather
That
killed
bitch
himself.
doesn't know how to make dinner.
So
Yeah.
so
You overcooked my casserole.
Yeah.
So when I was facing Kim Congdon, she did a joke where she said Dave's grandfather killed himself and his wife in a move I like to call the self-cleaning oven.
Wow.
Could you-
Holy shit.
It's a good joke. I mean, I still won, but
Yeah.
she and so then
We've
my
heard the oven thing.
my
Yeah.
mom
You and me.
was at my mom and her husband, not my father, but her husband now, great guy, were at the show, and then my
Oh.
mom was like,
Oh, my God.
you know, I never actually told him how Grandpa died.
Oh, my fucking God.
But here's the best part.
Whoa.
Here's the best part. So
Jesus.
here's the best part. Apparently, and I really appreciate that he came to my roast battles.
Can I just say one thing? I love how we went from a toy poodle to a murder suicide
Yep.
that quickly.
Right,
Yep,
your
sorry.
parents
This
tell
is
you.
Blamestorming.
Right, just like Maddie's family didn't want to tell her that her grandfather killed himself.
Yeah.
My family, I found out my mom was like, I didn't know you knew that. And I'm like, you didn't know that I knew that he killed himself? And I'm like, how would you not know? And then I said, I was like, wait, did you not tell anyone else? I was there when she found out. And she like woke me up, and then she was like, "Well, I don't think your brothers and sister know." And then I asked them, I was like, "Did you know about what Paul did?" And they were like, my brother, by the way, at the time when this happened was like 2. No, I'm sorry, he was like 11 years old when this happened, and he wasn't told. Shortly after that, he goes, my brother's like, "Oh yeah, I know what happened with Grandpa, because one time I was visiting Dad at work." And I saw that he had a newspaper clipping up on the wall of his office.
Oh, my
shit.
God.
Because that's how much my dad and him got along.
Insane.
And that's how they had to find out. See, that's the point I was making. That's the point I was making with my family. Is like, you see what happens when you try to protect people from the truth? Instead of them finding out about death in a good, normal way that normal people could process, they find out by happenstance when their dad is like, "Oh, you didn't know, huh?" To a 13-year-old boy about his grandfather's death. Now, granted, they didn't have a relationship with him like I did because he left the family when I
Right.
was like 12.
Right.
So they didn't know him the way I knew him,
Right.
which was a lot more. But still, it's just the fact like when our pets would die, they would
Yeah.
lie. And then an old
Totally.
person dies.
Yeah.
They have to lie about it.
my
It's
God.
pathetic. And I mean, like, I don't know if you want to talk about like
so
how
funny.
you eventually found out.
Someone asked, how did your, I think it was like a doctor's appointment or something like that. And someone was like, and how did, I was maybe like 13 or something. It was like one of those like last like appointments that your parents are still in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Bordering 11 to 13. And the doctor was like, and how did their paternal grandfather go? And my mom was like, self-mutilation. And in my head at the time, I was like, I got to find out what that means.
He was a cutter?
Yeah.
Because that's not even how you say
Wait,
Yeah.
suicide.
Shot himself or he hung himself?
No, he even shot himself.
He
Because
shot
yeah,
himself?
Yeah.
I guess she somehow thought self-mutilation was
Yeah.
a euphemism.
Well, the doctor was like, oh, okay.
Right?
Like,
I-
it's
Yeah.
like that's
Because it
that's a
sounds
good-
like your
Oh.
grandfather was just really emo and would
I
have to cut to
know.
let the
Wait,
pain
I
out.
cut myself
Right.
to make myself feel alive.
Right, yeah.
Put on some emo music.
But then it wasn't until like years later that I got the full story and was like, oh, shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're not going to ask after that and be like, Mom, what were you talking about? You know?
Right, like you have
She
no
could
idea.
have, because she
I
also,
would.
for the purpose of what he was asking, she could have just said accident. All he wanted
Oh,
to know was what
yeah, true.
disease he died of.
Yes.
Right.
She
didn't
could have said heart attack. No one would give a fuck.
Well, heart
Right,
attack would have been
exactly.
bad because then he would have, like, I guess, knew that your heart as a 13-year-old girl was in
Car
trouble.
accident.
They don't care.
Car accident,
So-
bus accident.
But actually, when I
Yeah.
used to work at a psychic hotline, which, by the way,
Psychic hotline.
all psychics are wrong. They're all fake.
Duh.
They just sometimes think they're real. I would test the psychics by asking them how my grandfather died.
Ooh, nice.
But that's the thing, they hate it when you ask them an open-ended question. They only want yes or no's because that's easier to lie about. And it was just really funny just listening to, like, because basically I worked at a psychic hotline, and it was really sad for me because I could tell these people were being like manipulated and lied to, and usually it's their fear of the future. And I would have people be like, well, I've been talking to this one for a while and I'm just trying to figure out if they're real or not. And I'm like, figure out if they're real? I just asked the guy, how did my grandfather how did my grandfather die? And their answer was, every single one has a different answer, but they're all equally confident about it. They're all like, yes, I see it now. He had a blood problem. What, didn't he? Yes,
Yeah.
he had this problem.
Oh,
And it's,
God.
but like, it was even better than
Did
that.
anyone ever get it right?
Yeah. One person said he died from bleeding in his head, which could be a stroke. It could be a million different things, including shooting yourself. So that's sort of what's the, the trick of it. They're just trying to be as vague as possible.
Right.
What I would usually do is I would call and be like, hey, my name's Gary. I work in a coal mine. I have 3 kids. Can you tell me what's going to happen with my sister's cancer? And they would just be like, yes, I see your sister right now. She's dealing with it. I see how you're like, no matter what you say,
Oh, for sure.
they never know you're lying.
Yeah, but you
Right.
believe them.
And the one guy who figured out I was lying just remembered me because I was his fucking supervisor.
Some people get addicted to psychic advice.
Well, the thing about the
Yeah.
industry that was so disgusting to me was that the profit is entirely based on the addicts.
Mhm.
People who just used it
For sure.
recreationally, we were losing money on
Mhm.
them. But the people who used it every day and emptying their life savings,
Hundreds of
they're the
thousands.
ones where the money was coming
Yeah.
from.
Jesus
And we
Christ.
sometimes when we were bored, we would go through how much money people were spending, and it was fucking sad. We were like, wow, this person spent 80 grand in the last 2 years.
Totally.
Damn.
And it's like, unless this is like some wealthy woman, which I'm sure they're not, we are destroying lives. And I
Mhm.
quit that job as soon as I was
Yeah.
able to line up another job
Yeah,
because it was just so morally wrong.
totally.
The way, and I went to the job not realizing how evil. I was open-minded to
Yeah.
it, and then when I was there, I was like, "Oh, these people are just
Yeah.
criminals." Even though they all pretended it was real, the psychics all acted like they meant it. I was like, whether you're lying or you're just crazy, either way, what we're doing is wrong.
Jesus, man.
Because it's all about just manipulating your fear of the future.
Well, that's...
So-
Oh, go ahead.
We are going to have to wrap it up fairly shortly, but
about-
before we go, a little thing, I don't know. Did you guys ever watch Smallville?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So-
go on.
So now, are you guys aware that the ladies of Smallville were involved in like a violent like sex cult? Allegedly,
I didn't know.
Yeah,
Until
this
This is
today.
Superman show.
Yeah. This just.
Yeah.
I
kinda-
know. I heard about it. I know that. I heard about it
you
today.
know about Superman?
Yeah, can you believe
Kristen
it?
Crook and the blonde one who looked just like Kristen Bell.
exactly. So like allegedly, Lana, which was Kristen Crook, she started the cult first. And she enrolled the blonde one, and the blonde one stayed in and like became the accomplice allegedly of like the leader of the cult. and they were branding like women like with like the cult leader and her initials.
There was a Law and Order episode about this, wasn't there?
I believe there was. Yeah.
Another blow to the DC cinematic universe.
Yes.
Exactly.
As if they haven't gone through enough already.
I know. This is
If
worse.
you didn't
First
go
suicide-
low enough.
I mean, obviously this is
First
not
Justice League, now this?
I don't consider this story as bad for them as Jared Leto's Joker, but it's close.
Oh, God. Jared Leto's Joker was so lazy.
That was the single worst comic book character rendition.
Was he
of all
also in a
time.
sex cult?
No, he was just
He
an
acted like it.
asshole.
Well,
he
he
was just a real asshole that
He was a white rapper. He
I
was
don't-
acting like
yes.
it was like the
He
director
was like
of the movie.
Snow.
It was like the director
It
of
was
the movie.
terrible. It was really bad.
It was like the director of the movie was like, yeah, man, I'm going to figure out how to make the perfect Joker. And then started just looking on websites to be like, what's like a cool watch the Joker would have?
No. The worst part of it was the fact that like
Tattoos.
no, besides the tattoos, it was like there was a scene in Suicide Squad where he offered to give Harley Quinn like to a guy.
Yeah.
And then he shot him when he refused.
No, he shot him for he shot him for acknowledging she was hot.
No, he shot him when he refused.
But I think the game there was that he was going to shoot him either way, and it was like the point is he was acting like a
scene was
really
terrible.
badly written. He was acting like a really badly written criminal in a crime movie.
He's supposed
where he's
to
like,
love-
"Oh, you think my girl is hot, huh? Well, I'm gonna shoot you now because you looked at my girl."
You know
It's like
what-
he's the fucking Joker. He doesn't use his dick.
Yeah, but you know what the sad part is that character, I love the Joker. He's just chaos. That's
Yeah.
all he is. And they reduced him to like a whiny little school brat.
Yeah, no, they
for the
made him.
Suicide Squad.
They made him a character that was unrecognizable as that character. I mean, the tattoo. They made him a vain, like shallow, just thug.
But
it was
they
terrible.
made him. They also made him like a needy little bitch. He's like
Yeah.
he doesn't care about Harley Quinn.
Yeah, that's right.
He
He doesn't.
ditched her 1,000
He
times.
doesn't care about her. That's why she loves him so much, because she's broken, and you should only like a man who treats you well.
Yay.
I'm
Yeah.
making eye contact with Maddy right now. She knows why.
Wait, do you know who I'm banging or no?
No.
Oh.
I just assume.
Oh, yeah, it's a pattern.
I think it's really funny that you immediately thought I must know something about your relationship right now, because I just
I was
assumed
like,
you like
holy
men
shit,
who
he told you.
who withhold affection.
No, man, I keep that between us.
So so there's
Yeah.
a cult. The Smallville girls had a cult, which, by the way, it's not like they did anything after. I thought Kristen Crook would have become a star, and
Right,
she
because
did
she
nothing
like
afterwards.
seems like she was like a
no.
rising star, but I guess she
Yeah.
got caught up in the cult and like trying to lure people into the cult. And then the other one, the poor woman's Kristen Bell,
Allison, is that her
the
name?
Allison, yeah. So like she stayed in it, and she was also like recruiting people into it. And apparently, at the end of it, they like she and the cult leader allegedly were branding their initials into the area right above people's vajayjays. So just so they
Yes.
knew,
Damn.
Initials.
yeah.
But here's the thing about cults.
Why would you want something that they could tell was
No,
you?
But cults
Yeah.
are like, I used to read a lot about like the Jonestown Massacre because I was like obsessed with it when I was like a teenager. I was like, why did these many people die? I watched all the documentaries on it. It's literally when you're building a cult, like the first thing is like power. You get all this like the star notoriety probably got him, and then it was like, ooh, I can get him to give me all of his life savings. Oh, I can get him to give me his car. Oh, I can get him to give me his house. And you're just taking everything, taking. And then you realize, like, there's going to be a point where someone's going to question a lot of this shit. But that's when they start, like, doubling down. Like, no, I will give you X, Y, and Z.
It's the exact
And
same. Sorry.
It's like, but with the Jonestown Massacre, what ended up happening was a bunch of people were living there, and their families were like, dude, we need you to come home. And the senator was brought in, and then they killed the senator with a shotgun.
Yeah, the first senator to be killed in the line of his duty. Yeah,
in Paraguay. No, in Central
South-
America.
yeah,
Central
South
America, And they ended up being like, "Oh, we're fucked. So we'll just kill everyone.
Just kill ourselves." And they didn't even have to kill the senator.
No,
by the way, the
they
senator
didn't.
was going to let them go free.
Yes,
but they were
Right.
just so paranoid because they're idiots
Here's
about
the
it.
thing. Here's the thing. It was on. They were recording, so they got it on tape. They actually got the execution on tape, and the History Channel aired it, and I watched it because I'm a psycho. But it was like, oh my god. Here's the thing, though. They didn't, like, the story that the press gave was, like, they injected all these people with cyanide. They didn't.
No, they drank it.
Half of them drank it. The other half had to be chased in the wilderness.
Yeah,
and
that's
shot,
true. A lot of them
like,
were killed.
fucking
They were forced,
shot in
yeah.
the back or stabbed to death. And the only ones that survived were, like, this, like, 80-year-old woman or 70-year-old woman who hid under a bed and waited for all this shit to go down.
You know the worst
It's
thing about
insane.
the worst thing about the Jonestown massacre to me, honestly the saddest part is the fact that to this day everyone uses the term drinking the Kool-Aid, and it was not Kool-Aid. It was Flavor-Aid. It was the generic kind.
Yes.
And we've been blaming Kool-Aid for all these
Wow.
years.
And not only that, I still remember the code to do the
Ridiculous
mass. I
branding.
still remember the
So
code name,
senseless.
I know.
which is White Knight. White Knight was the code name
Yeah.
to start this execution.
Oh.
Yeah, and then what they did, by the way, was they had mock executions where everyone would have to drink a poison that wasn't poison, and then when it was over, they'd be like, "Don't worry, it wasn't poison," because that gets it.
Yeah.
They did the same
Oh.
thing with executing prisoners and terrorists.
Crazy.
They do a lot of almost doing it and make you think, is that way you're like, oh well, I'll do it because I guess it's going to be fake again, and then it's not. I get that that's a little off
That
topic.
guy's like super like what is it, Tom Welling?
Yeah.
Like Tom Welling was Clark,
Yeah.
right? And like I used to have the biggest crush on him, and like now he's on Lucifer, and he's like the biggest meatball, and I'm just like,
What do you mean by meatball?
Like that.
I mean fat and unattractive.
He's fat.
Oh.
Oh, because
Yeah.
he was in Inception.
Yeah.
Because he was in good shape in Inception.
Fucking
He's
fat.
not-
Attractive
he's
people getting
not.
fat. That gives us opportunities, man.
It's kind of like I regret all of the attraction of my teen years.
At the same
don't
time,
do
let me
that.
hold on though.
That's-
Let's
that's-
ask a question
that's
of
not
Maddy
on-
though.
that's
Yeah.
not on
To be
you.
fair, a lot of women like a bigger guy though. Like,
are we
if
talking
you-
dick or?
We're talking Tom Welling.
Can you
He
see
was
your
already a
Oh.
big, strong
Yeah,
guy.
big,
But
big
can
guy.
Don't
you
you think
see
you'd
your
still be
feet?
attracted to
I'll
him if
take
he
a
was?
big guy.
I can see.
Yeah,
Well,
I feel like a lot of women would be fine with like a bigger, a huskier Tom
depends
Welling.
on what.
Yeah.
feet.
Especially when it's like already a big, powerful
Totally.
guy.
He's like, do you know James Nichols? He's like a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, I know James.
He's people think he's attractive, but he's like
Really?
a big guy. Yeah.
He's the guy you're
He's like
secretly
a big
fucking,
like
isn't it?
yeah.
I like it.
He's in-
I like James personally. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A
But-
lot-
yeah,
I'm
but
attracted to men that can see their feet.
I can see my
How
feet.
big is he?
That's what
I
I'm
can
saying. I
see
had no
my feet.
idea.
There we go.
But
had no
I don't
idea.
have feet. God, this is the problem that I have.
Wait, hey. You have feet. They are just terrible.
They're
They are
badly
techni-
deformed.
You're able to walk around on them and put shoes on them. They count as feet. You should be proud of them, even though they look like a pterodactyl owed money to the mob.
They're hooves.
So,
They're
and I
fucking
hate
hooves.
to
Hey,
do
Mr.
this, you
Tumnus
guys,
here.
while Dave is googling shit, but we're gonna need to wrap this up.
Oh, he looks fine.
But
What?
before we wrap it up,
I
can
Yeah.
He's not that fat.
he's not fat.
He's not that
He's not
fat.
attractive.
I
but
get
he's
that
not
you
fat.
remember when he was cut. I get
Okay,
that.
I
Um,
can understand the second chin, but he's not.
Okay. Yeah. He
Yeah,
doesn't.
he's-
He doesn't add weight well.
Yeah, I
Nah.
see. I get that.
But he goes to the gym and then he's back to his old
No,
weight.
he's not. He is not the Clark that I remember.
He
But
is,
that's-
I'll be honest.
hard.
He is Blake Sheltoning a little in the neck.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like you can't go back to your weight when you're like
yeah.
in your 20s.
Nah.
Huh?
Ugh.
He's-
Okay, we got Maddie to make a disgusted face, so I guess you
Yeah.
win.
All right.
But also,
See,
like,
I
his
told
outfit
you.
doesn't
I
help.
told you Tom Welling was gross. Now,
But
you
people
guys,
let themselves go.
my vagina never lies.
Okay.
So
That is a goddamn lie.
you wouldn't know. So now I hate to do this to you guys, but we need to wrap it up before we go. Like, I'm going to do a little bit of a rounds, and everybody tell me what projects you have coming up next, where everyone
have a
can
lot.
follow you on social media. I'm going to start with you, Maddy.
Okay, my name's Maddy. You can find me. I have a web series on YouTube called NYC Pads.
And by the way, if you're looking her up, it's Maddie's name is ironically with double D's.
Double D's, bro.
nice.
Like my titties. Yeah.
Mine too.
Actually, I'm a 36C,
Oh.
which is how I spell my name as well.
Oh, shit.
And I'm on Twitter at Modern Maddy. Maddy.
And what things can people see you on next?
I do comedy every night.
Every night she's out there.
Yeah.
All right.
You can check, check her social media. It's all over there. You can also, and all of us are of course on the Stan Roast Battle page. You can check our videos there. Chris.
All right. I'm Christopher Crespo, and I have a web series called Hand Jobs where I do different jobs every month, and we're gonna release an episode maybe Saturday or Friday. I'm gonna be a street performer. I'm gonna juggle.
Awesome.
Yay.
In front of people, which
Nice.
is sad. But I have a show on April 5th at New York Comedy Club with it's a roast against Catherine Zinni, and then I have another show on the 9th at Lap Dance Saloon, and then that's on 2A, and May I have the on the May 10th I have a Sonya 13th. That's in New Jersey in Morristown, and then in order to follow me it would be at CRESPOSTS at Twitter and Instagram and also Facebook. But yeah.
Dave.
Crest posts.
Yes.
Dave Cyrus, SIRUS. Just look there and you can see what I'll post where I'm going to do stuff.
I spell one of
I'm Maryssa Smith. You can also check out my other podcast, Big Talk and Brewskis. We record every Friday.
Oh, I'm headlining your 420 show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
Right.
420.
Hell yeah, 420.
Dave Cyrus is headlining the 420 show. You can also catch me on April Fool's Day at Merriment and Mortification at Otter Shrunken Head. April the 14th, I'll be Greenwich Comedy Club. And April 20th, as Dave said, it's our 420 show for Fashionably Funny at Broadway Comedy Club. 10 p.m. It's a great lineup. And
I'm going to be so high.
and that's why I booked you. And so, and tomorrow, if you guys are watching live, I am going to be at Broadway Comedy Club for Brendan Jones' all women's lineup.
I'm on that.
Dave is on that. I lent him a bra for it. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Keep the Blamestorming going. Follow us on Google Play and on iTunes. I'm Maryssa Smith. Have a good night.